Climate and Energy Minister Ted O'Brien, who joins me live from Adelaide. Ted O'Brien, thank you for your time. Well, what do you make of Paul Broad's comments?
I didn't hear the entire interview with Paul Broad, but what you just played there, Andrew, I think he is right. What Australia doesn't have right now is an honest conversation about the challenge that lies ahead, and I think both the Prime Minister and the Energy Minister have their head stuck in the sand, and unless they pluck it out and face reality, it will be the Australian people who pay the price.
Now, onto the Snowy Hydro delay, obviously a project that started under the Coalition's watch. What do you make of that delay? Is that something to be expected with this sort of project, perhaps?
Look, the extent of the delay surprised me, but look, the new CEO has made the comments, he has stated the facts, and so if Snowy 2.0 is not going to be operational until the end of this decade, the question then becomes what needs to be done. And this is where it squarely falls on the Albanese government that does not have a plan. We know even last week, Liddell Power Station closed. We are going to see 7.5 gigawatts of baseload power coming out of the system before Snowy 2.0 is operational. In other words, we're going to have a massive gap. By 2035, we will have 80% of our baseload power gone. So not only will we see prices continue to rise under Labor's plan, but we risk the lights going out. And amidst all this, we have radio silence from Albanese and Chris Bowen. You'd think it's just la-di-da, whatever. Seriously? People are feeling the pain. They're opening up their power bills.
Well, speaking of power bills, there'll be significant relief in the budget in connection with that. You're looking at $500 for households on those that are on government payments, like family tax benefit, etc., and $630 or so for small businesses. Surely you welcome that?
We've always said that we welcome relief for households, for businesses when it comes to Labor's power bills. But let's not forget, Andrew, even if they deliver that to the segment they're talking about, they still do not deliver on their promise, which was a reduction of $275 on people's power bills. That will not deliver on that, even to the people who meet that category. They have broken their promise of a $275 reduction in power bills. So let's see if they deliver on that. Now, let's not forget that they refuse to concede they've broken that promise. And this goes to Paul Broad's very point. Here they are, as a government, Labor saying, it's all right, don't worry, power prices are going to come down, the lights will stay on. But people know in the real world, power prices are going up. We know in the real world that baseload power is coming out of the system. They're not getting renewables there in time. They are killing gas, which is an important transition fuel. They are doing everything to get the lights out and to get prices up. So I don't think people are going to believe it.
Well, we haven't spoken since the government announced its intention to extend the gas price cap by 2 years. What did you make of that move?
I think from some of the remarks coming from the government, I think they are realising that they made a big mistake when they announced the price intervention. Because the price intervention, which was just before Christmas, came with a mandatory code. And that mandatory code is the key thing that has driven fear in the hearts of companies looking to invest in Australia. Because it effectively puts the government at the centre. Not only will the government decide who produces gas and who they sell it to and what price, but they will be able to do that indefinitely. Now, in looking at the draft mandatory code that's come out, the government has tried to walk back a little bit, but they haven't completely walked back. And so they're still putting themselves at the centre of the market, and the private sector is saying, well, if you're going to be the centre of this, Chris Bowen, we don't know if we want to spend our money. So we still have a problem because it's not addressing the most systemic issue, which is lack of supply of gas. That's the real problem. And it's related to snow, it's related to Liddell closing, Andrew. The more and more we have power stations close, we have big renewable projects not delivered, it creates a gap in the market. That gap needs to be filled primarily by gas, and they're doing everything they can as a government to discourage investment in gas.
Well, we've heard you talk about nuclear and a lot about gas. Do you yourself have any enthusiasm for the rollout of renewable energy in this country, or do you think the government is too reliant on it?
I'm absolutely enthusiastic about renewables. The difference between my view and the government's is I want renewables to succeed. And in order for them to succeed, they need to have complementary technologies that can work together with them in the grid. The government, on the other hand, only wants renewables. And in only wanting renewables, you set them up to fail because each technology has its flaws as it has its strengths. We know all the strengths of renewables, but its flaws are when the wind isn't blowing, the sun isn't shining, it can't do the job, which is why it needs complementary technologies. And the best technology available in Australia right now to firm them up is gas. The government's trying to kill it, and this is the problem we have.